Feeling the need for change is at the heart of your ability to make it happen. I'm Vivian Carrasco, and I'd like to welcome you to Turning Inward. I am your creative midwife, your teacher, and host of this podcast. Together, we're going to navigate the interior life by unearthing your personal truth, insight, and your inner knowing. In 2 words, this is your inner work. Hey, it's Vivi. Before we get started, I wanted to tell you about a little tip that you might not know about as you're listening to podcasts. Depending on which one you're using, it will allow you to listen to podcasts faster. Or slower, half speed, regular speed, 1.25, 1.5. And I say that because I've been listening to my voice and it sounds like I'm moving like molasses. But I also enjoy listening to podcasts. And sometimes when I increase the speed, it puts it in a nice, pretty rapid pace because I like to get through my information fast. So if you're the same way and you didn't know that you could do that, that's just a tip for you. Improve your listening experience. So I want to chat with you today about training yourself to be happier. Did you know that life is actually your school? It is. You, in your living, in your daily, everyday, in your practical, moment-to-moment living, can cultivate more presence. And cultivating that presence makes you happier. And at some level, that's all any of us want, is to be happier. When you're happier, you're more tuned in, and you're more connected to life. Yeah, you're alive, doing things with intention and in full awareness. So we all want to feel that happiness. We all want to feel peaceful. We all want to feel loved. But the problem is, your brain is literally designed to hijack your attention. So what do? You can strengthen your happiness and your well-being. You can feel better, be less stressed out, have more concentration, less overwhelm, be totally tuned in and at peace. So isn't being happier, more loving, and feeling more peaceful worth training yourself? I don't think you'll regret the investment you'll make on your own well-being. So the way to do that is to engage your mind and ignite your heart. So these 2 beautiful little things have a little dance together. It'll help you to see more. You'll be able to kind of move beyond the words, the concepts of things. They won't be as rigid. You'll move past your habits and past your patterns. And you'll be alert. And you'll be able to observe the difference between your inner world and your outer world. And the love and the kindness and the awesomeness of every day will just show up in your life. So, what would you do if you actually tried to train yourself to be happier? I'm going to give you a few tips today. And the first one is pretty heavy. You've got to lose your belief. Most of our beliefs are kind of steeped in culture and in what people want us to do versus what we know we need to do for ourselves. So lose your beliefs and come to faith. Because if you feel 1,000% confident that you know everything you need to know, you're never going to give yourself the opportunity to discover more. I've gone to school for lots and lots of years. And the only thing that I know for sure is the more that I know, the more I realize I don't know. It actually makes me feel dumber because there's so many layers to everything. There's this cool quote that I wanted to read you about shaping your training and your experience. So the father of American psychology is William James. So this was written over 100 years ago. 1878 is what I wrote down. Whether the attention come by grace of genius or stint of will, the longer one does attend a topic, the more mastery of it one has. And Lamont would say, keep your butt in the chair. And the faculty of voluntarily bringing back a wandering mind over and over again is the very root of judgment, character, and will. No one is capable of mastery of himself if he have it not, and an education which shall improve this faculty would be the education par excellence. So William James, the father of American psychology, over 100 years ago, said the ability to bring back a wandering mind over and over again is the very root of judgment, character, and will. And the cool thing is that we have learned so much. We collectively, like over the last 100 years, have learned a lot about meditation and awareness as a workout for your mind, as the education par excellence. Recent research, so there are 4 practices of well-being, and they're all skills. And the most significant nugget that I sort of pulled out of this is the one, there are 4 pillars, and the third one is attention. So what they found was that if you're not focused, you become unhappy. A wandering mind is an unhappy mind. So by being able to draw your attention back over and over again on the thing that you want to pay attention to, you will become happier. One of the most interesting things about all of this, about well-being, and this is why I'm an avid yogi, meditator, and stand-up paddleboarder, and walker, and enjoyer of sunsets, is that there's a bilateral highway happening here, from the body to the mind, and from the mind to the body. So you can start with the body. That's why in yoga you do the asanas in order to, calm the mind, relax the body. And yoga is all about focused training of your attention. Or you can start directly with the mind in meditation. So I want to talk to you about David Richardson's research at the Center for Healthy Minds, because the way that he, I mentioned the 4 practices of well-being, the way he suggests that you cultivate your happiness is through 4 key areas. So whatever practice you pick to do this, it's going to be in one of these 4 areas. So the first is resilience. And resilience is interesting to me because it is what was when David was active duty military. Resilience was kind of like the key word that was moving through the family circles, the team building circles, the AFAP, the AFTB, all those acronyms of the organizations that would support military families, and the idea of resilience. So resilience is at the speed of which you recover from adversity. It's exactly how you bounce back, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. What do you do to build your resilience? How do you bounce back from adversity? A really simple example that's coming to mind right now is because the mind wants to control. And when you can't control things, you have to figure out a way to accept it. So when David would deploy, there was a time period that he would be gone. 6, 8, sometimes a year. And there was a practice that I started with the boys because they were of age where they really didn't understand how long David would be gone, but they knew that it was going to be a while before he came back. I would have a jar of Skittles or M&Ms, I'm not sure which. Whatever it was something I didn't like to eat. And I would take out M&Ms from the jar every day that he was gone, so that you could physically see the M&Ms, sort of dropping down. And then the anticipation would grow when there was, 2 or 3 or 4 M&Ms in the jar. But I don't think there was ever one time that David's return from a deployment was right on point. It was never exactly the day that he thought it would be. So the practice that I used to sort of speed my recovery from this disappointment, this anticipation, is I would just add more M&Ms to the jar, because I couldn't control when he came back, but I could control my attitude towards the change in his coming back. That's just something I did by nature. So the second pillar of well-being to increase your skill is your positive outlook. What is the ability? And some people are born with more positive outlooks. I mean, my sisters, well, everybody that knows me knows I am a very positive person. I have what a very good friend of mine today said is a crazy level of confidence in a positive outcome. So positive outlook is your ability to look for and savor the positive in others and in life's ever-changing circumstances. And that's not to have a Pollyanna attitude like everything will go well. It's having a faith that it will. And when it doesn't, being resilient so that you bounce back. One of my favorite things that I say now is I am positive but realistic. So I don't ignore the obstacles in front of me. But I do see the world as good. And I know that humans are good. Now, I also know that hurt humans hurt people. It's just the way it is. But I believe in the essential goodness of human beings. And that's why a lot of my teachings take you back to remember what you already know. Because it's a relearning, it's an uncovering. It's not anything new that you don't have. So the third pillar of well-being and practicing your happiness ability is your attention. And this is my favorite one to talk about. This is the awareness of the activities of your mind and your ability to harness it. Because to paraphrase the studies on this, a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. Lots and lots and lots of us are not attentive to what we're doing. We have lost our focus. And when you're not focused, you're not happy. So whatever practice you use to bring your awareness, to increase your attention and your awareness to what you're doing, it will help you be happier. And this could be as simple as doing the dishes. Noticing the temperature. I like to go through the 5 senses, but noticing the temperature of the water, the texture. Notice your way of being as you're doing the dishes. Are you angry? Wasn't your turn? You weren't supposed to do it? Or are you just doing them in the moment? So the last one is generosity, and a really simple, practical way to increase your generosity or your capacity to be caring and compassionate is to engage with what matters to you. And this is important. What actually matters to you? This is a unique journey. This is not a follow the leader kind of thing. So one of my favorite practices is gratitude. At the end of the day, to do a review of the day and make a note of what I was grateful for, as a way to strengthen my compassion. The reason that I say that confidently, that you can train yourself to be happier, is because our brains have circuits in them. And those circuits are like plastic. It's called neuroplasticity. You can change your brain. It's not set, and it's never too late. It doesn't matter how old or how young you are. Because the brain will change in response to both your experience and your training. And, there's a lot of different studies out there that tell you how long it takes. And I think the one that I read of that had the least, it took someone, I think, like 4 hours. In 4 hours in brain scans, they could notice a difference. And some say 8 weeks. And there are habits and journals and stuff that say 21 days, 48 days, 52 days, whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. But what does matter is that what you do every day, where you place your attention every day, will drip by drip make a difference. I wanted to also give you some really practical ways to help increase your concentration and train your brain. And this is from a course that was taught by Dr. Rick Hansen and Dr. Rick Mendras. They're meditation teachers and neuropsychologists, and it's called Train Your Brain. So the first one is to set your intention. You can set your intention. So resolve to keep your mind on a specific thing. And as your mind wanders, without judgment, in a neutral way, bring your attention back to that object. One of the easiest, you always have your breath. So you could do that for whatever amount of time that you have. Notice your breath. And when your mind wanders, bring your attention back to your breath. Or it can be an object. Another one is to just be kind to yourself. Wish yourself well. Compassion is a pretty big boulder. And it's a core component in absolutely every method, every process, everything, every transformational change that any individual or group goes through with me. You have to learn to be compassionate to yourself. Another big one is to find a way to relax. Whatever you need to do to calm yourself, to release stress, relax. And I said at the beginning of this that your brain is built to hijack your attention, so you have to figure out a way to feel safe. Because if you don't feel safe, you don't go anywhere else. It is a instinctual thing for your brain every 5 seconds to scan for danger. Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? And if you don't feel safe, you will not learn. You won't heal. You won't rest. There's a state that's called digest and rest. It's where you heal. But if you're in a constant state of fear, whether that fear is real or imaginary, you won't feel safe. So whichever technique you use, make sure that it's yours. Don't do it because someone else is doing it or because it's a trend right now. Make it uniquely yours. Let's see if there's another one I want to tell you about. To trust yourself. So one of their tips is there's a natural intelligence in the mind, and you will find your own way to deepen your concentration. Just explore what works best for you. It's kind of like working out. Like there's a certain workout for you. I have done everything from leg warmers to recent, like Reebok Step, the slide thing, you name it, I did it. If I could buy it, I would. Because I was just interested, curious. Until I got to hot yoga. And then I realized hot yoga is my thing. It is my practice. It is what makes me feel safe. And it is where I know that I heal. So do what works for you. And the only other piece of actual advice that I'll give you, other than doing what works for you, is to find a community or find some support. And this is where it's important that I tell you it's not quantity. It is quality. If you're trying to build a new practice, if you're trying to change a bad habit, if you're trying to fix pattern of behavior that you don't like and doesn't serve you anymore, you need support. That's just true because you're a human being. So, this life is your playground, and it is all a classroom. And I believe in you. You can change your life for the better from the inside out. If something needs to change and you don't quite know what it is yet, tune in and turn inward. I host an online learning community. where we can figure it out together. It feels like a little family, and it's a place where you can be supported and offer support, because togetherness sparks change. Visit my digital home at viviancarrasco.com to learn more.